welcome back. You've been keeping up with Grimes and Elon Musk, right? And sending in some news about their latest drama.
Oh, yeah.
This one is a doozy. We're talking a child's health, a plea on social media, and a glimpse into their relationship.
It's a lot.
And this isn't just celebrity gossip.
Right.
This makes you think about how money and fame affect families.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's easy for people to just assume that wealth solves all problems, but clearly that is not always the case.
Yeah.
It brings its own sets of challenges.
So let's get into it.
Okay.
Grimes took to X, formerly Twitter, to publicly address Elon Musk about what she called their child's urgent medical crisis. Pretty heavy stuff. She used phrases like lifelong impairment and ignoring.
Wow.
Definitely creates a sense of urgency and frustration.
Yeah, you don't really see that very often, someone putting something so personal out there publicly.
Yeah.
But then again, she didn't say which of their 3 children was involved.
Yeah.
So maybe she's trying to be careful, you know?
Yeah, maybe a balance of like, I need help, but I need to protect my child.
Exactly.
And then you look at how Elon responded or didn't respond.
Yeah.
While Grimes was making this plea online, he was at CPAC, even appeared on stage with a chainsaw alongside the Argentinian president.
It really makes you wonder what could possibly be so important that you would, you know, overshadow your child's medical crisis.
Yeah, what takes precedence there?
Right.
It's a stark contrast.
Absolutely.
And this isn't the first time that they've publicly disagreed on parenting either. Remember when Grimes criticized Elon for taking their son X to meet Donald Trump?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. She was pretty vocal about her discomfort with that.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And that adds another layer to this current situation.
Right. It almost seems like a pattern, you know,
Definitely.
of just differing values and approaches to raising their kids, especially when it comes to, you know,
Yeah, but
public exposure.
in the public eye.
Right.
So Grimes did eventually delete the posts about the medical crisis. It seemed like all the attention and the lack of response from Elon made her want to regain control of the narrative.
I mean, that's understandable. Who would want that to become a media circus, right?
Yeah, sure.
Especially when kids are involved.
Especially when kids are involved.
Yeah.
She even hinted that her original tweet might have been shadow banned on X.
Oh, really?
Can you explain what that is for people who don't know?
Yeah. So shadow banning is when a platform, like a social media platform, makes your posts less visible without telling you. So you might be posting, but no one is really seeing it.
Interesting. So it's like you're talking, but no one's listening.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a way for them to kind of control the conversation without directly censoring you.
So Grimes is hitting a wall on all sides. Can't reach Elon, and maybe can't reach the public either.
Right. It makes you wonder how much control we really have over our own stories online. You know?
Especially with these big platforms that have their own agendas and
exactly.
algorithms. And all of this is happening while Grimes is in a year-long custody battle with Elon. She's even said she didn't see one of her kids for 5 months.
It's a reminder that even with all the money and resources in the world, they're still dealing with, you know, the same struggles as everyone else.
Yeah, the same messy realities
Exactly.
of separation and co-parenting, almost like 2 different worlds colliding. The world of space travel and billion-dollar companies, and then this very human world of family and health concerns.
Exactly. And it makes you think, can those 2 worlds ever truly coexist? Like, how do you navigate something as personal and messy as a custody battle
Right.
when your whole life is under a microscope?
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that, even if it's on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
Like, we've all had to figure out what to share publicly and what to keep private.
Oh, absolutely. Especially on social media.
Especially on social media.
It's like this constant struggle. And I think what we're seeing with Grimes and Elon is just an amplified version of that.
Yeah.
It's like they're living this in hyperdrive.
So for someone listening to all of this, why should they care? What's the takeaway?
I think it's a good reminder that even with all the money and fame in the world, people are still just people.
Yeah.
They have families, they have vulnerabilities and struggles just like everyone else.
And sometimes those struggles are very public.
Right. And that's kind of uncomfortable to watch, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It forces us to think about, you know, how much access we're entitled to when it comes to other people's lives.
Yeah, where's that line?
Exactly.
And it brings us back to social media. Grimes used X to reach Elon, and it really shows both the good and bad sides of these platforms.
Absolutely. On one hand, it gave her a way to bypass traditional channels and speak directly to him.
Right.
But it also opened her up to all this scrutiny and judgment.
And like you mentioned earlier, the possibility of being shadow banned.
Right. It's like this double-edged sword.
Exactly.
It can connect us, but it can also be used to control us.
We talked about ethics and fame and technology, but what about the kids? What happens to them in all of this?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We can only speculate based on what Grimes has shared, but it seems like they're caught in the middle of this battle.
Yeah, she did say her child could face lifelong impairment if Elon didn't respond.
Yeah, that's a serious statement.
It makes you worry about the long-term impact this could all have.
Absolutely. Children need stability, and when that's disrupted, it can have lasting consequences.
And it's not just this one incident. She mentioned Elon has been skipping meetings, not responding to her attempts to communicate,
Yeah, that definitely suggests a bigger problem.
like a breakdown of their co-parenting relationship.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder what's next. How will this all play out?
Feels like we're just at the beginning of this story.
It does. And I think we need to remember that this isn't just some celebrity feud. This is a real family going through a difficult time.
Right, with potentially life-altering consequences for the kids. Is there anything else we should be paying attention to as this unfolds? Anything we're missing?
Well, I think it's important to consider the bigger picture. This situation touches on some pretty big issues, like the power dynamics between men and women, especially when it comes to parenting.
Okay.
How does wealth and fame factor into that? And what does it mean for the future of families in our digital age?
Yeah, those are some big questions to think about. It feels like this deep dive just keeps going deeper.
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes the most personal stories can really shine a light on these broader societal issues.
And it makes you think about how we as a society consume and react to these stories. Are we too quick to judge? Are we part of that media frenzy that Grimes was talking about?
It's a good point. It does make you look inward a little bit. Like, are we just watching this all happen, or do we have some sort of responsibility to engage with it in a more thoughtful way?
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the drama, but we have to remember that there are real people at the center of all of this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Real families with real feelings.
Okay, so before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. Imagine for a moment that this wasn't Grimes and Elon.
Okay.
Imagine it was an ordinary couple going through the same things. A custody battle, a medical crisis, a breakdown in communication. How would this situation play out differently?
That's a really interesting question. Would they even be in the public eye at all? Would they have the same resources to deal with these things? Would anyone even listen to their story?
It's hard to imagine it being the same at all.
Yeah.
It really shows you the unique pressures and privileges that come with wealth and fame.
And it raises questions about fairness, too. Like, how do we as a society make sure that all families, no matter their circumstances, have the support they need?
That's a big question, a really important one. So as we conclude this deep dive into Grimes and Elon Musk and their public plea, we leave you with this final thought. How can we learn from this situation and work towards a world where all families, famous or not, are empowered to thrive?
That's a great goal to strive for. I think it starts with recognizing that shared humanity in all of these stories, looking beyond the headlines and really approaching these issues with empathy and understanding.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep diving deeper.